يعرفوني تعتيزي. جيتكم كم مرة جيتكم؟ 6 مرات 7 مرات كل سنة.
أنا ولا تراجيت طويل. عتنايا الله عتنايا.
كي تحب بالقاسم كي تحب تجي للجزائر لازم لك يومين باش تجي.
En général, no, I do direct flight. San Francisco, en général, soit le Francfort, soit le Paris. 11 ساعة.
بعد
11 ساعة.
اليوم الجرمان تجي للجزائر.
ألجي. ومن بعد في ألجي en général ونزيد نحضر البسكرة ومن بعد نهز الباتور من البسكرة نحضر المغير.
جبدة ولا جبدة 2 جور يعني.
en général 3 jours. نلحق.
بزاف.
3 jours quand même.
ها؟
راك تروح كل عام بالقسم.
الكوفيد هذا هلكنا بس قبل قبل 3-4 فوا بارون.
ما شاء الله ما
شاء الله.
نحضر نروح نشوف الحاجة ونجي نجري.
ممتاز لازم.
La prochaine fois, Inch'Allah, on va t'inviter Tizi-Ouzou.
Inch'Allah.
Ça va être une conférence directe.
Inch'Allah.
خلينا المصيبة تاع الكورونا هذه اللي تعبتنا. الواحد يحاول يحضر. عندي خاصة أولادي سيرتو بني الكبير يحب يروح للصحراء. يعني با كونفورم علاش ما يروحش. لازم ندوه.
بصح نقصت بزاف دوكا مازال اون سونتين برك دو كا بار جور يعني ان شاء الله سا كونفيرج فير زيرو.
والله الاثنين اللي فات رحت للخميس. الخميس هو سان كارتي بوبوليو ثم بالجزائر. والله حشمت انا كنت غير انا ندير الكمامه يعني.
شفت.
الناس كامل خلاص.
لا البروبليم الويف دائما تجي في اكتوبر نوفمبر.
اكزاكت.
مرابير العام اللي فات الويف اللي جاتنا لهنا تاع اكتوبر نوفمبر سي انفيرنال. عندك جيسكا عندك فاسيلمون 50,000 مور بار جور. طلعت.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Welcome to all.
This is Hassan Kassi from London. I was an alumni from University of Tizi-Ouzou. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, next time when you will do the physical event, we will come, we will fly over. And we will attend it inshallah.
Inshallah.
سي حسن تقدم روحك.
My name is Hassan Kassi, and I work in financial crime here in London in software industry. We do like customer screening, transaction screening, and all those good stuff. I'm sorry for the back noise, but yeah, I do pre-sales and implementation engineering.
Okay, Erdogan.
Okay.
Okay, we begin. Erdogan, je te laisse commencer.
Oui, bon.
On
peut commencer.
Tu souhaites la bienvenue.
Salam alaikum. Bonjour tout le monde. Ou bien bonsoir, ça tout dépend du pays où on est. Donc, nous sommes très honorés de recevoir à l'occasion de ce webinaire M. Belgacem Haba, le chercheur algérien qui a le plus de brevets aux États-Unis. C'est l'un des éminents chercheurs algériens, savants algériens. Nous sommes très honorés de vous avoir parmi nous, cher Belgacem.
Allah يسلمك.
On aimerait bien vous avoir, Inch'Allah, à l'occasion d'une conférence ou à l'occasion du journée à NEC Tizi-Ouzou.
Inch'Allah.
Vous allez nous parler de votre expérience avec les startups. Et je crois vraiment que ça va être très bénéfique pour nos ingénieurs, pour nos mastérants, pour nos doctorants. Et donc, sans trop tarder, je vous donne la parole à Rachid. Je donne d'abord la parole à Rachid Moussari pour vous présenter et puis on va commencer la présentation.
شكرا رضوان. أنا بعد نقول للناس كامل اللي زانفيتي مرحبا بكم. Vous êtes les bienvenus في جامعة تيزي-Ouzou. Et permettez-moi, avant de commencer la conférence, la présentation, de vous demander d'éteindre vos micro-ordinateurs, vos microphones, pardon, les micro-ordinateurs, il faut les laisser ouverts, d'éteindre vos microphones et éventuellement vos caméras. Donc, on va passer la parole, avant de passer la parole à Belgacem, donc il va nous faire une présentation et il le fera en anglais. Même d'après le débat, vous pouvez poser votre question en anglais si you want. ولا حبيتوا ديروها في العربية مو مشكلة، حبيتوا الفرنسي مو مشكلة، l'essentiel الميساج يلها. Donc sans trop tarder قبل ما نخلي الكونفérence بالقاسم، والله يعني بالقاسم حبا il n'est pas présentable. بصح je vais lire la présentation qu'il a choisi qu'on fasse. Parce que normalement, ما كاش étudiant, ما كاش الجزائري ما يعرفش بالقاسم حبا. Donc سامحوني je vais faire la présentation. خونا بالقاسم حبا زاد في 57 في المغير. المغير ولات ولاية من 2019 كانت في ولاية الواد. من بعد راح لإكسبيري كان يسموها التكسيرا في 96 حتى الآن. يعني هو دوكا انجينيور، هنا هو كتبها بالانجلي سينيور تكنيكال فولو، هو انجينيور سينيور في الريسيرش. خويا بالقاسم اللي غلط اسمح لي. Il est aussi vice-président de la société Xperi. Il dirige actuellement une équipe chargée de trouver des solutions au sein de la division recherche et développement en électronique. Ses dernières activités incluent le développement des technologies 3D pour l'évolution de la microélectronique. Il a également travaillé pour la division de la plateforme des centres de données de Google en tant que cadre supérieur. Avant cela, il a cofondé la SiliconPipe Inc. en 2002, une start-up spécialisée dans les interconnexions à haut débit basée sur le Silicon Valley. La start-up a été ensuite rachetée par Samsung. Il a également géré les activités de recherche et développement en matière de packaging avancé chez Rambus. De 88 à 96, il a travaillé pour le laboratoire de recherche centraux de NEC في Tokyo et les centres de recherche Watson d'IBM في New York sur les applications des lasers microélectroniques. في التسعين دكتور حبا enseigné شوية هنا في ولاية في جامعة بيسكرا. Dr. Haba est titulaire d'un doctorat en sciences et ingénieur des matériaux obtenus en 88 à l'Université de Stanford, en Californie, dans le domaine de l'énergie solaire. Il a également obtenu 2 maîtrises en physique appliquée et en sciences en ingénierie des matériaux de la même université, Stanford. Il a obtenu son DES physique de l'Université de Babzouar, le STHP, Le Dr. Haba est titulaire de plus de 500 brevets délivrés dans les États-Unis. Il a plus de 1600 brevets et demandes de brevets dans le monde. Il figure parmi les 100 inventeurs les plus prolifiques dans le monde. الشيخ بالقاسم parmi les 100 meilleurs dans le monde. En 2017, il a ouvert l'Institut Haba في الجزائر pour aider les jeunes entrepreneurs. Dr. Haba a été publié, a donné des conférences dans le monde entier. Il a été récompensé plusieurs fois. Il y en a beaucoup, donc je vais en citer quelques-unes. Il a eu l'insigne d'honneur في l'informatique في الكويت في 2019. الوسام العالم الجزائري في 2015 et le prix Research and Development 100 pour le plus prestigieux innovation في 2003. Et aussi, il a aussi eu une récompense à l'ouverture du Nasdaq في 2007. اسمح لي خويا بالقاسم j'étais un petit peu, j'ai tranché la présentation. Mais je suis très honoré personnellement et nous sommes très honorés في جامعة Tizi-Ouzou de vous avoir parmi nous. Et on t'écoute avec plaisir et
إن شاء الله. أولاً سوري السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. قبل ما نبدأ لهنا خليني قبل ما نبدأ أولاً حبيت نشكر أخويا كارا اللي عرضني لهنا واتصل فيا وقال لي ارواح وذاك جي توجور بولي نجي نزور تيزوزو اليونيفرسيتي ولكن الاوضاع ما كملتش. ان شاء الله في المستقبل القريب ان شاء الله نجي اون بيرسون سافا ريتر ان بليزير. قبل ما نبدا حبيت اولا نقول لكم مولد نبوي شريف كريم للجميع. وخلينا نبداو قبل ما نبدا سي منصوري قال لي نحكي كلمتين على وين زدت ولا ربما الجماعه يعرفوا باللي راني كيما الجزائر انا زدت 57 دون زدت جيت مع بدات الثوره الجزائريه المباركه وبديت اقرا مع الانديبوندونس. دونك الجزائريين الكل كانوا يشبهوا لبعضهم. فجيت باش نوري لكم لا فوتو هذه البلاد اللي كبرت فيها المغير في الجنوب الجزائري. هذا الشارع تاعي اللي كبرت فيه باش تشوفوا ما كان لا تريسيتي لا ما يجري لا والو. دونك الدنيا ما كانت ان بو ديفيسيل هذاك الوقت، ولكن الناس هذاك الوقت كل كنا نحاولوا نخدموا ونوصلوا كل واحد على ما يقدر مع الاهل تاعو والاشياء هذه. جيت النقطه هذه حبيت نبين لكم باللي ما جيتش هكذاك، طلعت كما الناس كل الجزائريين الكل، والحمد لله لوكازيون جات ان هي سمحت لي باش تفتحوا لي بعض البيبان، وكان نجحت على سير لو دو تاع مئات الاساتذه والناس اللي خدمت ووصلتني لهنا. واحد ما يوصل وحده، وشكرا للجميع. ولهذا خليني I'm going to share my presentation. تشوفوا البرزنتيشن؟
It's okay.
Okay. So سمحوا لي I'm going to switch to English خاطر الأغلبية تاعها بالإنجليزي، ولا ربما نلوح كلمات هنا وذا بالعربية ولا بالفرنسوية منا ومنا. So really I'm an engineer in the electronic field. I did not hear about the word startup at all my life. Until I finished my PhD, the word startup, I never heard of it. So, but when I learned about it, I started to educate myself since I went to school in the middle of Silicon Valley at Stanford. That's what Silicon Valley is, and all these companies, Google's and Intel's and Yahoo, Facebook, and all these big corporations all started there. So you learn how people start companies. So I made it a point that I will learn what a startup is. So I'm giving it to you. I never learned it in school how to do a startup or how to do business or whatever. I purely learned as an engineer and my experience startup. This is one point. The second point is it's absolutely imperative that a definition of an engineer is not somebody that goes and gets a degree only, is somebody that knows what to do and be able to sell their ideas. If you cannot sell your idea as an engineer, you are not really a good engineer. As a good engineer, you should be able to sell your idea to somebody. And in this talk, I'm gonna just purely talk about my experience, what I learned, things. A lot of it is based in the US, of course, so some of it might not apply or so, but I'm gonna report a lot of things. Take whatever is good for you, and the other one, just drop it, consider it doesn't exist. So let me see, it's not moving. Mouloud Mammeri Sharif, first and for all. I have a quote. I always start my talk with it, especially in Algeria. And I always say, we live life only once. Either you live your dreams or you're gonna live the dreams of somebody else. So the choice is yours. So always think about it. Either I wanna do something for my own, I have dreams, I have ideas, I wanna do it, or I just go and work for somebody else and let that person has their dream. So it's very, very, very important. Today's talk is going to be, I do a small introduction. How do you prepare yourself if you want to do a startup? What are the key elements you need for a startup? The tools, what tools do you need to have, and a summary. Let me go to an introduction. The word of startup. The word of startup is divided in two sections. And by the way, guys, if you don't understand something, let me know. So I will stop, or if you don't hear me, whatever. So the word of startup has two sections of it. One is the ecosystem. There's the ecosystem in that area exists. And that is something you have no control over it as an engineer or as an entrepreneur. You have zero control over it. That's the ecosystem. And that you have something that you have to do. It's the you things. So I'm gonna have them two separate ones. In the ecosystem, there are four things that are required for an ecosystem to succeed. You have to have a good labor force, good engineer formed at the university levels. You have a very good labor force. You have to have a financial support. That's number two. The third is a market acceptance. And what I mean by here is that what you make, the market is willing to buy your stuff. So you don't have to go come up with something and the companies around don't buy your stuff. And the fourth is the legal system. The legal system that respect what you have, they make it easier, or if you come up with somebody and somebody comes and steal your idea, it has to be on your side. This ecosystem is one thing that we have zero control over. So I'm not going to talk about that one today. That's for another talk if you want, guys. I'm going to talk about you as a person, as an engineer. What is the idea? What's the team that you have to have? How do you interact with the market? How do you protect yourself? And how do you fund it? And all that one is known to people as a business model, a business plan. So what is a startup? Usually, most people ask, a startup is no more than an idea that you have, especially an engineer who day and night, you cannot sleep. I mean, the whole night you're thinking about that idea. And why do you do ideas? Most people do ideas because a lot of people are dissatisfied with their job. They have a job, they don't like it. Or in the company, they are unable to get good idea going, create new ideas in the company they are in, and they don't let them do it. They want to enjoy their work. They don't want to be doing something that's redundant. Everybody, they tell them just do it and you become like a machine. And also it's the desire to have your future, you control your future. You don't have somebody else. And there are other people that do it purely for money. So who do you trust? This is at the beginning, completely when you think about the startup. You say, oh, what should I do? Who do I tell? I mean, in the US, we have a system that allows us to do a disclosure that you are protected for $300, you are protected in this guarantee. It's not a patent, but it's a provisional patent that protects you for a year. All these documents are available on the web, by the way, and you have 1 year. One thing is important when you do this thing is to make sure you don't do it while you are working for somebody else, especially if you have a contract with that person that states that your ideas are a property of that company. So it's a no-no. Do a lot of, don't jump on your ideas before you do an interesting study on the idea itself in the web and try to see the idea you have, is it good or not? Then you start asking to what is the route I'm going to take? What should I do? Should I go to VCs? Those are the people that invest and give you money. Do I have to go to my families? If they are rich, give me money. Do I have to go to the government to give me the money? Or just I'll do it alone. I have a few bucks, few dinars, I want to do it. But if I do it, how long can I survive? You have to ask those questions. Those are very important. You just throw yourself like that. And how long can I wait before I survive? Now, what is the spirit of an entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship, especially in the US, it's like having babies, like getting married. People do it all the time. It's known in the US like 6% of the population do startups. Men are 8% and the women about 4 or 5%. Most startups are created by people before the age of 25 and 34. So basically you, the student, that you have to think about it. You're on the right age to think about doing these startups. And most startups are usually in urban areas. That's where they have big problem. And that's purely because there is where you find a lot of good workforce. Now I'm going to talk to you. So when you have, now you decided that I'll have these ideas and I want to do it. There's something called the square of wisdom. Is what technology do you want to use and what product do you want to use? Is this an old technology? Is it a new technology? Is it an old product? Is it a new product? And these are they call it square of wisdom. It's if it's a new technology to make an old product extremely undesirable and nobody is going to fund you. If it is an old technology with an old product, it already exists. Nobody is going to fund you. It's highly, if it is a new technology with a new product, people like that, but usually you'll find some funding that's desirable. But the most desirable thing that you'll find, where you find a lot of funding, is if you have a new product you're going to develop and we use an old technology. That's exactly the top one on the agenda when you don't jump on technologies just for the sake of a new technology. Everybody heard about it. I mean, I'll give 2 examples. It's the AI. Everybody is jumping on AI these days. So you have to be careful. Or I'll take the other one, is solar energy. So any technology starts as a trigger. If you look at the beginning, everybody starts talking about it, everybody jumps on it, and you have so many people working on it. And it goes like a hype, and it reaches a peak of expectation where people realize this technology is really hard to do. Then everybody quits, and only few people will be left. So, and those people will continue, improve, solve the problems and everything. Once the problem gets solved, it starts to pick up and become mainstream. So it is very important that you should not jump, if you are doing a startup, jump at the technology trigger, but you want to be after the curve in the slope enlightenment. You want to do a startup there. So some technologies are still at the beginning and some of them are completely out. And how do you prepare yourself? Preparation is key. There are few steps, and one of the key is knowing yourself and knowing your team. If you want to work on a startup, the biggest thing you have to know is, what do I know as a person? Everybody wants to be CEO. That's a really bad start from there. You want to know what you are good for. For example, I'm good in technologies. I stick to technologies. I'll bring somebody else who is in chemistry, somebody who is in marketing, somebody who is, knows how to run company. I bring them. So that's this. You have to know what you know and know what you don't know. And what you don't know, you bring somebody from outside. It is very, very, very important. And I saw it in Algeria. A lot of people send me business plan from Algeria. I look at them and everybody, like there is no trust. Everybody when they start a company, they have their cousins or their brothers or sisters are co-founders, and or somebody that they went to school with. They don't think about why do you bring somebody in the team? You bring somebody in the team because you are missing something you cannot do by yourself, and you want somebody else to do for you. That's what, and that's what the team is. The founders that start the companies usually, founders are founder, but eventually you're gonna run into problems along the way. So you have to be able to be open with the founders, tell them exactly what it is, and be clear between each other. Make time for fun, because these companies tend to consume you and take all your energy away from you. The second step is know the market you're going. I mean, a lot of people will jump, they have an idea, they jump, they start making software or something, making a prototype without thinking. That's a wrong thing. First, you have to think about the idea. That's what I say. You know yourself, you have the team. Then you start to look at the market. If I make it, is there a need for the idea that I'm doing? How big is the market? Does my idea fit? Those are the most thing that you have to worry about. And yeah, I'll go back to that element that's about the market. I saw it in all the business plan that most people send them to me from Algeria. People do not even look at the market at all, and that's where you lose usually when you have a startup. This is not a gamble or something you do just to enjoy yourself. You have time, spend your time correctly. Have an idea, go look at the market. Is your idea how much it's going to cost and all that stuff. So I'm going to go in the key element of the of a startup. And these are the key elements that's needed for a person to think about when they do a startup. The first one is you have to know the problem that you're trying to solve. What are you solving exactly? The second thing is the solution that you have, how unique from other people, that solution. The third one is called the unfair advantage, and I emphasize on unfair. I will come back to explain this one. What advantage do you have that you're going to succeed with it? The fourth is the competition. I mean, you are not the only one in the market. So there are other people who have solutions. How do you stack against those? So you have to understand that. And the fifth is the financial. Who is going to pay for all that stuff? So there is an expression in the US, they say, only a fool bankroll their own startups. So you should never use your own money to bankroll your startup. If your idea is not good enough to be financed by others, it is not good enough to be funded at all. I'm going to go through these steps one at a time. The problem. Usually when you have to know, I'm trying to solve a problem, you have to know how big the market with that problem is. And how painful, if my solution is going to be only another solution to the market, why bother? People will use the other solution, and how you're going to penetrate the market. And if there is a problem that you're going to predict in the future is going to happen, how are people dealing with it today? They have a solution, what they're thinking, all these are very important. So you have to remember all these, you have to explain it to the investors. So you have to believe there is a problem. You have to know how to explain it to people. And to the point that when they listen to you, they get attracted to understand what you are trying to solve. You know your solution. What is the basis of the solution? What's the advantage of your solution? And how big the solution can go? Is it a solution that you're going to solve it for this year and that's finished? Or does it scale for the next year, next generation, and it goes for many years? Now, the unfair advantage. You will say, well, why do you use the word unfair? The unfair is that it is what gives you an edge over other people. And these are usually few things that make unfair advantage. Either you have an exceptional team that are the brightest team you could find, and that will help you to come up with something that nobody can come up with, and all this. That's very important. A team by itself is sufficient. There are many startups that got funded only on a team without idea. The second one is you have a patent that protects you. The third one is you have a unique process, like Coca-Cola has a process that they are the only one that know how to do it. You're good. And the fourth one is a business relationship. If your uncle is Bill Gates, you could go very far, even all the other stuff you don't have. So as long as you can use your uncle to help you open the doors. How do you protect your idea? Idea, you need to protect it for the simple reason is once you start to sell your product, you are a fly. It's a competition of fly and a lion, that you're no more than a fly. If the legal system cannot protect you, you have a patent and you protect you, you are not going to survive in this world. So it's very, very important to have that piece of paper, and that idea is highly protected. Need to know the competitions, how the market is working now. What are the competition doing today? The other companies, how they're solving, and what I'm solving, is my solution going to compete with them or not? That's very, very, very important. Now the financials, which tend to be the biggest problem, especially in Algeria. Startup, if there is no financial, there's no need to bother yourself. You have an idea or you don't, it's not important. You have to have the money behind it to fund your company. If you cannot convince yourself or convince people to help you with that one, you cannot go very far. So you need that capital to succeed. And to get that capital, people are going to ask you, what are you going to do with it? How much do you not want? What are the milestones that you're going to reach? So you should be able to have a 4-year plan, how you're going to spend the money, how many people you're going to hire, equipment you're going to buy, and how many products you're going to sell. And at the end is you have to show people what is your exit strategy. Where am I going to go with this project? I'm not going to just keep this startup going and I'll be working on it. Investors are more interested is, I'm going to give you money today. I'm willing to give you $1 million. You have to show me that in 4, 5 years, 10 years, I'm going to get 10 times that, 100 times that. That's what you have to show when you finance to somebody. I'm going to get this idea. I'm going to get the market away from other people. And I'm going to penetrate the market and I'm going to sell. And this is profit I'm going to make in 5, 10 years. This is how much money. And by giving me this much investment, you get a percentage of that profit. That's the heart of things. If you cannot convince people to do that, you are not going very far. Now, all these are just key elements. Now, what the tool, the tool that you need to do, what people do, the tool is no more than a business plan usually. And I have done a few of them. So there is nothing perfect when it comes to business plan. You start like everybody else. At the beginning, everything is bad. So you have to do 2 things. One of them is called the elevator pitch. which is basically no more than being able to explain your idea and your product to somebody within 2 minutes. If you meet somebody and they say, what is your company? You should be able to describe everything in 2 minutes, very clearly. If you cannot, you have some problems there. And they call it elevator pitch because it's supposed to be, when you get an elevator and you run into somebody in the elevator, you should be able to explain to that person your whole company in the elevator and attract them to listen to you. The business plan it's more details on what. And you have to do it on and on and on. You keep doing it and improving it. A lot of people, business plan is not meant only for to get money with it. It's meant for you to figure out that you are not missing pieces when you are starting your company. You are not forgetting something that might hurt you in the future. Most business plan, I know of them, they're about, in the US, and at least in the West, the business plan are more PowerPoint, few pages, slightly different from the French system, which you have to write a whole document. In that, you have to describe your team, what's special about your team, what you are going to do with how is your idea, what are you going to do with it, what are the problems that you might face, your competition, then the finances, how long it will take you, and how they're going to get money. Those are the things that you have to describe in your business plan. It's a few slides. Each one of them describe exactly what I mentioned. Those are the, so when they read it, everybody will read it and go, oh, if I get involved here, if I give them money, there is a chance I get a piece of this pie. So that's the key things that we have to focus on it. The business plan, once you write it, you have to understand it and believe in it. And you have to show passion when you talk to somebody about the idea. Not only you have to understand the technology side, but also as an engineer, you should be able to understand how the market's gonna buy it, how the client, the customers, what are the other company doing, the profits. All these you have to learn, at least you learn part of it when you talk to people. You don't just tell them, I don't know until you talk to somebody. You have to understand your business plan well. A very important thing, if there are things in the business plan you don't understand, don't be defensive. Don't try to protect don't fall in love with your ideas. Just say, okay, this idea, I know how to do this and this. There's a few things I don't understand. I'm hoping to hire somebody who will help me with it, or I'm gonna work on it. But yes, definitely I recognize it's a problem. Don't try to be defensive and try to hide the problem if they do exist. Now, while doing your startups, there are things happen. There are good moments and bad moments. Good moment is, I call them satisfaction moment, is when your product hit the market. This is a few of the stuff that I have done. PlayStation, up in the NASDAQ, we're in every phone, we're in the memory, and you see product in the market and you go, wow, I contributed to this. That's what you want to create a startup for, is for this moment, not for the money. The money is always, if it is money, you should do all the stuff too. But why I'm saying this one is purely, there is dissatisfaction moment. There are a lot of these, more than the satisfactory. There are a lot of problems that's in the way when you do a startup. Tension before the founders. Too much time you spent running after to raise money for your company. Equities. Let me explain what equity. Equity is how do you share your company with others? The people that give you invest money, you have to give them part of the companies. And teams and engineers that come and work with you, for them, it's a startup. It's highly risk. You have to give them part of the company so they can work with you. This is the equity. How much do you give them? You don't want to give too much, then at the end you have nothing left. Another problem is you spend too much work away from your family. You have to be careful with that one. We tend to forget our families. Your kids will grow up and you never see them. Your health deteriorated and it's too late. These are some of the problems that you're going to run because doing startup also. I'm just trying to give you the good side and the bad side. So, so you have to watch for those so you don't get carried away. Be warned. And do not underestimate luck. Luck plays a big role in a startup. You could be in the middle of, you have a great idea, or even not so great idea, and there's a company that needs exactly that idea, and they call you, we need it, and then you fall into great luck. They're bad luck. I have one company I started, exactly at started, the economy collapsed. Everything closed for years. So the company goes belly up. So there are things that you can do, the economy changes, state of the economy, something happens to your family, stuff like this one, big event. So you never know. So those are things that happen. You have to be ready. That you do your best, but be ready that things happen in a site too. And no matter what, you win or lose, you have to have the startup in idea. You have to have that dream always going. The best thing about startup is that hope that you're going to make it. The juice flowing within you. Even if one goes down, the next one should be starting. Always after that next idea I want to do. And that's very, very important. Summary is, if I have to summarize, I would have prepare yourself a lot. Define a good business plan. Choose your team right. And hope for a lot of good luck. And thank you very much for listening. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much for awesome.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah.
J'espère que les gens en ont profité. Et s'il y a des questions, vous pouvez les poser directement du Belgacem, que ce soit en anglais, que ce soit en français, que ce soit en arabe. Si vous voulez rédiger votre question directement sur la discussion, je le ferai à votre place.
David qui veut poser une question.
Ok, il n'y a pas de souci. N'importe qui veut poser la question, il n'a qu'à ouvrir son microphone et poser sa question. Ok, David, tu peux poser ta question.
Allô?
Oui, on t'entend.
Hello. First of all, I apologize for my very bad English. I will ask a question about the principle of a startup in Algeria. I know that when we think about a startup, we think about a new idea. But if we see the situation in Algeria, there is many things that are not really new in the world, but it doesn't exist in Algeria. Can we found a startup with some new technical things, as for example, smart home or things like this, and consider it as a startup that can be a good idea in our context?
So this is very, for me, I have a slightly different thinking about what a startup is. Some people think about startup as it has to be something new. right? It's not true. For me, a startup is you found something, some needs in the society. The goal is to solve a problem that exists in society that requires solving, and if they don't solve it, there is a big issue with it. And you bring a bunch of people and they go and solve it. And usually if there is no solution, that's because it's difficult in that place to solve it. The startup, there are many types. There is innovative startups that come up with completely new ideas. And there are startups that just do basically just solving a problem using technology that already exists. And I mean, there's an example I always use in Algeria that has been always looking for a solution. Still, we have date trees in خلف الجنوب الجزائري. Sorry, I use example from the south. And the data on the top, and somebody needs to cut those the dates from the top and bring them down. And the whole thing happened all during a very short period, October, November, December. And there are about 19 million trees in Algeria. And if you imagine try to climb and cut all those trees, you don't have enough people to do it, and there is no machine that does them. So, and still where nobody came and solved that problem. So there are a lot of problems that need to be solved that do not require to be creating a new phone or create something, but still solving a problem in society. So as long as you're solving a problem in society, it's good for me, good by my standards.
Good morning, sir. So I have a question about the idea prototyping. So I'm a pharmacy student. So if I want to do some startup in my field, I need like prototyping the product. So where can I do that? Yeah. Like I don't know from where to start.
Okay.
Also, I have a second question. Is about the patent. Like when we have an idea when we are a student, so we are working in a team in a university lab, etc. So how to have a patent when we are a member of a team?
Okay, so a very good question, because the two questions. The first question that you ask, and I'll come back to the patent idea. The first question that you ask is, I want to prototype something, and where do I prototype and all this? Before you get to prototype, it's a mistake to go prototype and spend your money if you don't know the market, people will buy your idea or not. So you have to make sure that people buy your ideas, where to find the money before you go start prototyping. For me, people that start prototyping right away, it's a big risk you're taking. So you should be at least capable to go and figure out if you come up with an idea. You don't have to tell them the idea. It's like, I have a solution to this problem. If I have it and it costs this much, would you buy it from me? So those are, if they say yes, if you, in the medical field, unfortunately, if it is anything that you ingest, you put it inside your body, it requires many years of homologations and a lot of, so it's a field that's quite hard to do. In the US, is a minimum 70 years of testing. Now the question of patenting. There is in the patent, if you, I invite everybody to go at least look at one patent, pick one patent randomly from the patent office and read it. In the patent office, you have all these talks and writing and text and all that has no meaning, has absolutely zero meaning. You could write whatever you want. what matters is the claim at the end. There is something at the end called the claim. Claim 1, claim 2, claim 3, they are at the end of the patent. And that's what matters. It's the, you have to figure out who came up with that claim. The idea that's written in the claim, which of the group of the person who really first said that. And that you connected to the inventor. Not everybody who participated in a debate about an idea is an inventor. No, it's only the person who came up with it first. Is from a legality point of view. I mean, if an idea goes to court, the first thing the lawyers will do is they will tell you, claim number 1, who came up with it. So you cannot say, I had this one and I have 20 people coming up with this, it doesn't work. So they will check it claim to claim. So every claim has to know which person invented it. Okay?
Another question? Another question?
And I have question, Rashid.
Okay, sure.
Belgacem, you mentioned that maybe it's not a good idea to have a startup or develop an innovation while you are working. I'm not sure how it is in the US, but for example, where I am in the UAE as a professor of university, it may be difficult for me to, very probably because I have a full-time job, anything I discover, probably the university can claim it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got the question. In fact, I did not want to elaborate. I knew somebody will ask me that one at the end of the talk. Yeah. It's all depend on your contract of work.
Yeah.
Right. My contract of work says everything I invent belongs to the company. Okay. Anything I invent. It's written black and white, right? Yeah. But they don't own anything I invent after 5 p.m. right? So, or in my vacation or whatever. But still, if it is within the field, they will own it. They will tell you it's within the field. You thought about it after the hours. Yeah. As far as your work, so it depends on the contract you have with the universities. But most universities, they have criteria of patent invented by professors and students. They obey to this regulation. I know when I was in Stanford a long time ago as a student, I came up with something, and I know at that time the Stanford, the department took 30%, 1/3, and the university took 1/3, and I take 1/3. So in fact, eventually I was at the end of my school, so I did not file it, and I waited until I finished school, and I filed it by myself. So, so the schools, universities have rules in how they obey to the patent. So you for sure you have in your contract rules and what happened to the patent and who owns it. Some universities, they say, okay, the patent is owned by by whoever invented it. It's fine with us. And some, they say, no, you use that equipment, you used our labs, you use this, it's ours. So there is in between. So it's rule dependent.
Thank you.
Okay, haven't another question? Hey, Talaba. Hey.
Does not have لا داعي تكون الأسئلة هذه اللي حابة تخرج عن الموضوع مفتوح يعني.
والله يعني.
Yeah, so that have to be in startups. الطاقة اليوم مش باش نخوفكم الستارت اب، نعطيكم لي بوين تبداو ستارت على الصح. شفت على الأقل في السنين هذه اللي فاتت I went through 300 500 بزنس بلان اللي بعثوهم لي جزائريين وشفتهم الى حد الان الكل راحوا خلاص يصوتوا ديريكتومون على البروتوتايبينغ وما يخموا لا على بزنس لا على يقدر يعقبوا له عام ولا عامين ويخدموا من بعد يكرهوا ويطيشوا كلش ويروحوا يحوسوا لخدمه ولا ذاك. فمن الاحسن من المره الاولى تخمم المشكل قبل ما تروح فيه تنقز عليه.
Belgacem.
نعم.
J'ai une question plutôt à l'environnement, des startups.
Yes.
Il me semble que c'est le point le plus important.
Yeah, I usually, in fact, this talk is two sections. It's one section is the ecosystem, which is a whole talk by itself, and one section is the student or the person what to do, right? The ecosystem, they are in an ecosystem, and I hear people talking about ecosystem left and right and all this. Ecosystem requires, and let me, I'll go to the slide probably. An ecosystem, nothing works without these four things that I have written. Am I still sharing?
Right.
Nothing will work without these four things. And there are a few other stuff, but these four things are required. You have to have a very strong labor force, which is universities is forming engineers. When I say engineers, so people who know how to handle things. You can open a computer, they know where the pieces are, they know, not theoretical. And they're capable to work together and have finance, have education, have things. The second one is the financial support. You have to have an institution that gives money. If you do not have this one, I tell people don't even think about starting a startup at all, if you cannot have a financial support. The third one is the market. Our company buying your product. If I spend my time and what's her name, the lady that talked to me, Nasira, somehow, sorry, I forgot the name. She said she wants to do some pharmaceutical. Yes, you have to know how big the market, and is the Algerian market, the government or whoever in charge of the Algerian market, are they going to buy your product? If you go and spend your time doing without having assurance that the market will buy your stuff, it's a waste of time. And the legal system you can get away from Algeria, it's all à peu près. So what are the rules? اللي تروح له يقول لك يا بصح. So it's the protection of the of your ideas. Since most people are doing startups that do not require the new ideas, so it's okay. But still, you have the legal systems, how to help people. How do people deal with the? If I hire somebody and I want to give them share of the company, how do I do that? The Algerian system doesn't work with that. How do I invest in them 20% of the company? My co-founder, I want to give him 10% of the company. How does that system work? Those do not exist yet. So,
okay. Professor Belgacem.
Okay,
Samir, tu peux continuer ou
Yes, Samir, il peut poser la question.
Merci Rachid.
Okay. Welcome, Samir.
Salam, Professor Belgacem, thank you very much for your presentation and interesting ideas. This morning, just we were talking with Rashid about the fact that we were too old to launch startups as professors at university. And my question is, in contrary, I think I noticed that many professors in USA, perhaps, in Europe, are leading some companies and startups. So is it always time, or we are too old? What's your
look at, I said most the companies, the startups, in generalities, they're 25 to 35 years old, right?
Okay.
That's the, I would say 90% of the companies, because that's the time where the individual is free and has less problems with the family problems. They don't have kids, they don't have health problems, they don't have houses, mortgages to pay, they can sleep wherever they want, they can afford to spend a lot of time working. This is why it's very important at that age. That doesn't mean that they are not a percentage of people who are doing. I started my first, when I started doing startup myself, first time I learned of a startup, I was 35. When I heard of them, well, probably a little bit earlier, 30. But my first startup I got involved in, I was like close to 40. So, so I started late. So, so I started late in this startup. That doesn't mean that you don't need somebody. I mean, we have, as we get old, we have wisdom and we have know things that young people don't make mistakes on. So you surround yourself with the people who can, as someone like me, in fact, I'm working on, I have 4 startups to the side running right now. I don't know which one is going to succeed. So basically what I do, I come up with ideas. Then I surround, I know I don't have the energy and I have family, I have all that. I have, and then I look for young people that are capable to do. I bring them in. It's like, you do the work with me, you get as much or even more than I do, but I will guide you. I tell you how to do things. You just execute, run with it, right? The ideas in most of these are my ideas, so the ideas are mine. So, so you surround yourself with the right team. But if a startup is made of people, all of them are over 60, I would not bless it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yes, توام جوبا.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
أنا لونجلي تاعي شوية.
لا يا أخي راه كيما حبيت. مش مشكلة هدر كيما تحب.
Très bien, mais par contre, j'aimerais poser ma question en français. Du coup, vous avez dit que pour commencer une startup, il faut identifier un besoin dans la société. Une fois le besoin identifié, il faut chercher la solution à ce besoin. Du coup, moi, j'aimerais savoir, alors ma question, comment estimer ce besoin, ou est-ce qu'il y a des méthodes pour analyser le besoin, pour savoir si vraiment la startup va avoir de l'avenir. C'est ça en fait. Oui.
This is the, ça c'est la définition d'un entrepreneur, l'ingénieur entrepreneur. C'est de savoir ce qu'on appelle le bottleneck. Bottleneck, c'est le problème qui bloque l'évolution des choses. Tu vois, des gens en train de créer des choses avec des éléments très anciens où ça prend beaucoup de temps, ça prend beaucoup d'argent et tout ça. Et du coup, non, c'est faux. Je peux le faire mieux et ça va coûter moins cher. C'est ça, il faut voir aux environs de la société. Il y a des problèmes d'autres, des problèmes techniques, des problèmes, par exemple, le téléphone du futur et tout ça. Ça, c'est un autre problème. Ça, c'est le domaine où je travaille. Donc, le téléphone, il ne peut pas faire des choses extraordinaires. Il y a des problèmes physiques, électroniques qu'il faut résoudre avant. C'est autre chose. L'Algérie, contamination d'eau. في l'Algérie مثلا un grand problème. L'eau est contaminée في l'Algérie partout. Et ça donne des maladies partout. واحد مفتح une petite compagnie قال voilà je vais essayer de résoudre le problème local, des solutions locales. C'est ça ce que j'appelle chercher des solutions pour résoudre le problème local. Problème السكنة في le sud algérien في الصيف la température تلعب 50 degrés. C'est incroyable. Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas d'autres solutions? Les solutions qu'il faut résoudre. Les gros problèmes qu'il faut résoudre, les gros petits problèmes. كل واحد يشوف على حسب النيفو تاعو comment résoudre un problème. Une fois qu'on connaît le problème, على بالنا l'étendue du problème. Ça s'étend sur combien de je vais résoudre le problème تاع الماء. Dans chaque maison, il y a un problème. Je peux avoir, tu calcules les nombres de maisons, je peux avoir 1% du marché de l'Algérie, mais tu calcules ça, égal, voilà, sur le marché تاعي. Mais pour résoudre le problème, هذا باش يشريو عليك, c'est très même à quelle valeur, à quel prix les gens sont prêts à acheter mon produit. باش دير حاجه qui coûte 10 millions تروح لواحد une solution qui résout le problème تاع l'eau في الدار. Donc tout ça, tu fais un business plan où va تروح les gens avant de faire des prototypes. قال voilà, si je viens avec une solution de 300 000 ou là qui résout le problème تاعكم في الدار, est-ce que vous l'achetez? Tu fais un sondage, si ça marche, tu as une bonne idée. Ça, le prototype, c'est le dernier des choses. OK?
Yeah. والله الكويشن اللي حبيت نبوزيها يعني معناه الستارت اب should have a big idea. يعني الواحد يقدر يحل ستارت اب with a small idea, يعني تكون برك تكون الايديا تكون مفيده لكثير ناس.
Yeah, you resolve a problem. That's all it is.
Yes.
All what we are doing is resolving problem of our role. Le rôle qu'on a, احنا كانجينيور, الدور تاعنا كيفاش نحلوا تحل المشكل معين, un petit problème تحلوا وتسي تبروفيتي من البروبليم. لا عاد لا سوليسيون هذه انوفاتيف كي اللي لازم لها بروفي دير لها بروفي. لا ما عادش ما تحققش البروفي, ساعات دير دي كوتي نورمال, تشوف في الكوتي فينونسي. نو واش بالبريزونطاسيون حبيت نديرها لكم اليوم, انا حبيت نبين باللي il faut pas sauter en tant qu'ingénieur. عندنا اللي يدير نروح ديريكتومون ندير بروتوتيباج, سي فو. هذا لازم تشوف كيف تحل المشكل تاعها اللي البروتوتيباج وليدي سي او ديبار, ومن بعد كيف تحل المشكل مع من تهضر لو مارشي الكوتي فينونسي. الا كان عندك اون ايدي كومون ريان ني بارفي, واحد ما يعطيك 100% غارانتي, مي او موان تكون درت لي بوين هذوم, فيريفيت لي بوين.
Yes, حسين كمال, tu ouvres ton micro et tu poses la question. Monsieur Kamal veut poser une question. Allez, tu ouvres le micro, Hussein.
شكون monsieur Moussouri?
Hussein Kamal, il peut poser une question.
Hussein Kamal.
Oui. Kamal, tu poses la question, tu l'as écrit et je vais la lire à ta place.
Donc c'est fait, il peut l'activer. Hein?
Oui. Vas-y.
So as we know, it's not easy to create a startup in Algeria or to exhibit your product on the market. So is there a way to propose our project elsewhere?
Propose, what do you mean by propose?
Propose, yeah.
To somebody else?
No, in another country, for example.
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you have an idea, do your business plan, but don't do it in Algeria. Do it with the idea that you're gonna have your business plan in the US or in Canada or in Australia or whatever. But your business plan has to fit the place where you're gonna, because people are gonna give you money.
So how we can do this?
You do it like you do it, and anybody else does it. So they are investors. You do your business plan. You have to do your business plan first. After you do your business plan, then you contact the venture capitalists. There are a lot of venture capitalists around in England, in France, in the US. But remember, if in Algeria, the competition is less. So when you are sending something, if you are solving an important problem, if you are sending it to the US, you have to make sure that your idea is highly competitive with with what exists in the market. You have to show that you understand the market very well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have people from the Middle East. They come here and they start companies. I have people from Morocco just arrived here and started the company directly. And there is money, but as long as the idea is good. Usually they look at two things: the idea, the team that you have, right? And of course that the idea has a bigger applicability, that very quickly it will penetrate. So some ideas you just explain them and they go, wow, yeah, this one will make it.
Yeah, Hanan, allez où est aussi revenu. Vous me posez votre question, Hanan. Open your microphone and ask question. Or Amar, allez, okay, Amar.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, hello, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Haba, for this interesting presentation. I have a question about the idea of the startup. So, is having an idea is sufficient to start the startup? If not, what is the major steps before executing this idea? Thank you, Mr.
I didn't understand the question.
So I asked if is having an idea is sufficient to start the startup?
No.
If no, so what's the major steps before executing that idea?
You do your business plan. That's what I said. My whole talk is about an idea by itself doesn't mean anything. You have to understand. I mean, you could have the best idea in the world and it will go nowhere if you don't know the market and you don't have a good team, and you have to understand your competitions. Otherwise, you're working in the blank. And just ما تروحش في الجزائر. نعطيك اكزامبل، ما تروحش في الجزائر تفتح حانوت كومباني تخدم السكر تكومبيتي مع البراد with a startup. Yeah, at least you know. You have to know there is a big guy around, and how are you going to beat him, right?
So
you
can I ask?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So my question is already about the scientific research in the medical field. I want to ask if, I was in China and I was doing research, but I was suspended, because of the pandemic. But it's another story. So my question is about having a startup about in the field of scientific research. Is it possible?
Yeah. Yes.
How it could be? Because one day maybe. You talked about when being far of our families and our parents. So I think for myself, I want to come back to Algeria later, and I'm thinking about a startup in scientific research. So I don't know if it's possible.
Well, the company that we started ourselves, I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company now, and all we do is research. We do research, but it's a different story. We develop technologies by ourselves. At the beginning, we found somebody that gave us the money. Let me explain a little bit what we did, probably many years back, a long time ago, when I had black hair and I used to be more handsome. We thought about the phone, the mobile phone was so big and heavy and all that. So the number of phones at that time, there were like 5,000 phones were sold in the world or something like this. So the idea was, if we can miniaturize the phone, if we make it small enough, everybody will have a phone. Did we know? No, we did not. But if we make it, everybody will have a phone and it's going to be big business and all this. So the idea was, we figure out a way how to make the parts small enough, they will fit in a very small phone. And somebody gave us the money. And we went and we did the research and we proved it. And then that technology became everybody is using it. In fact, there's about 300 billion units sold with it. So why I told this story is very simple, is for the idea, if you want to do research that, lab research that for others, you have to have the contacts and people that are willing to give you the money to run that stuff. Either company that give you you have to have the contact, you have to have a marketing person that with you contact people and bring you the business all the time so you do research. Or you come up with your idea, you develop them, then you sell them to other people. There are two ways of doing this. Is it clear?
I think yes. OK. Je pense que s'il y a d'autres questions, on prend. Sinon, question. OK, donc, Belgacem, شكرا كثير.
By the way, if they want to ask a question outside of the startup, it's fine. Okay. Okay. So it doesn't have to be startup related.
شكرا كثير شيخ بلقاسم. Je vous remercie beaucoup. يعطيك الصحة. C'était très intéressant.
Yeah, it's la chose اللي كي me gêne مع كي يشوف لي جون في الجزائر، سي الناس يصوتوا ديريكتومون، يتلاقاو زوج ولا ثلاثة في اليونيفرسيتي، يتلاقاو يقولوا عندي ليدي هذه صافي ريزودر البروبليم، اي نروحوا نبداو نديروا نخدموا عليها، سمع؟ وما يحوسوش باللي اسكو كاين دوطرو جون خدموا على السوجي هذاك، اسكو يا كومبيتيسيون ما كانش السوجي خدموه ما خدموش، لو مارشي تو سا، يقول لك نخدم نديروا البروتوتيب ومن بعد ربي يدير لنا. It's a waste of time. It's really a waste of time. You really have l'idea is bon, is to prove que l'idée تاعك est bonne. C'est très important.
D'accord.
Okay. Avant de clore, donc je remercie tous les participants. J'espère qu'ils ont tous profité. Donc, je vous souhaite une bonne soirée et je vous retrouverai, Inch'Allah, dans un autre
vidéo. شكرا لجامعة تيزي-Ouzou اللي عرضتني لهنا، وإن شاء الله المرة الجاية نكونوا اون بيرسون كما يقولوا. سي ديفيرون الواحد يهضر في ليكرون شويه يا ف صافي نابورت كو
ان شاء الله ان شاء الله يروح فوق الهم هذا اللي راه
يا ان شاء الله قريبا ان شاء الله. وشكرا على الاستضافه، وكما قلت ومولد نبوي كريم ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله
ونتلاقاو في ساعه الخير ان شاء الله.
بارك الله فيك بالقسم، بارك الله فيك.
مزيان.
السلام عليكم جماعه.
السلام.
قال خير خير بالقسم. اوكي سلام احمد. سلام جماعه.
سلام.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
Merci beaucoup, Ali.
شكرا. Bonne soirée.
Très, très bien.